The Galactic Council had convened. It was an event that occurred once every few thousand years, but this gathering was different. This time, the fate of a species, a planet, and the future of the galaxy were at stake. Representatives from dozens of alien species, spanning the vast expanse of known space, gathered to discuss one issue: humanity. For millennia, these beings had watched the human race from afar, observing their rise and fall, their petty squabbles and fleeting moments of greatness. The humans had barely advanced beyond their primitive roots when they first made contact with other species. They were viewed as a curiosity, a species that was slowly becoming aware of the cosmos, yet still dangerously unrefined in terms of technology and social development. Yet, despite this, they had made an impression. Over the course of centuries, humans had become a paradox. Their violence, their tendency toward war, was something that caught the attention of every species they encountered. Yet it was not just their violence that garnered attention. It was their astonishing resilience, their refusal to yield, even in the face of extinction. The Urazu had been the first species to encounter humans in a meaningful way. The Urazu were a race of tall, translucent beings, capable of manipulating gravity and the elements of nature. They had observed humanity for centuries, watching as humans struggled with their own conflicts, their planetary-scale wars, and their seemingly endless history of destruction. The Urazu had expected that humanity would eventually destroy itself. In fact, they had anticipated it. When the first signs of human expansion into space emerged, they were certain that humanity would either fall prey to its own destructive nature or fail to adapt to the complexities of interstellar politics. Humanity was too violent, too unpredictable, they believed. The Urazu thought that eventually they would see humanity's inevitable collapse. However, something strange had happened along the way. Despite their violence, humanity had proven to be extraordinarily resilient. They adapted in ways that no other species had anticipated. What should have been their downfall, wars, plagues, famine, only made them stronger. Instead of retreating or surrendering to the forces that sought to destroy them, humans fought back. Even when their resources were depleted and their technology was outclassed by other species, they managed to find ways to turn the tide. It was this unpredictability that caused the most concern. The Urazu had initially underestimated humans, believing that their aggression was a temporary flaw. But they were wrong. It wasn't aggression alone. It was their unyielding determination to survive. That had made them dangerous. The Galactic Council, consisting of representatives from dozens of species, had begun discussing humanity with growing anxiety. The Urazu had urged the Council to take action, to eradicate the human species before they could grow any more powerful. Humanity, they argued, was a ticking time bomb, and if left unchecked, they would inevitably pose a threat to the entire galaxy. Their survival instinct is beyond what we've seen in any other species, one Urazu representative said, his form shimmering as he spoke. Their ability to fight back against overwhelming odds is unparalleled. I've seen entire fleets of human ships, outnumbered and outgunned, turn the tide of battles that should have been lost before they began. This is not normal. This is not the way any other species behaves. The council chamber fell silent. It wasn't the first time the Urazu had warned about humanity, but it was the first time other species were starting to take their concerns seriously. "We cannot ignore this any longer," another voice said. This one belonged to a Zoran representative, a bulky armored species from the outer edges of the galaxy. "We must do something. If they are allowed to continue expanding across the stars, they will destabilize the entire galactic order. Their reckless behavior, their endless wars, will lead to conflict between us all. It is only a matter of time before they come for us." The room erupted into a flurry of murmurs and discussions. Some representatives agreed with the Urazu and the Zoran, while others were more cautious. "Perhaps we should attempt a different approach," suggested Unassuming, an ancient being whose species had evolved to live for millennia. The Unassuming had been observing humanity for hundreds of years and had a unique perspective on their potential. We've seen them in action, in their own wars and conflicts. And yes, they are violent, but they are also survivors. I believe there is something more to them than mere aggression. Perhaps their violence comes from a place of necessity, not malice. One of the council members, a Davarian, a species known for their intellect and long-range planning, raised a hand to speak. If what you say is true, then perhaps we should study them more closely. If humanity is as resourceful as you suggest, we need to understand why. Let us learn from them. We may find that their capacity for war, but in their ability to adapt. The debate continued for hours, but no consensus was reached. The council could not agree on whether humanity was a threat that needed to be neutralized or a species that could be reasoned with and understood. In the end, a decision was made. Humanity would be tested. The only way to truly understand why humans were becoming such a terrifying presence in the galaxy was to observe them in a real-world scenario, to push them to their limits and see how they responded. And so the decision was made to initiate a test, a battle. A coalition of alien species, each with their own motivations and agendas, would launch an assault on Earth. It was a simple plan. Strike first and see how humanity responded. The fleet that would attack consisted of ships from several of the galaxy's most advanced species, each one equipped with superior technology. The humans, by comparison, were seen as primitive, with only a handful of advanced warships and little to no experience in large-scale space warfare. The invaders believed that this would be an easy victory. They would crush humanity, and that would be the end of it. But as the alien fleet descended on Earth, they began to realize something horrifying. Humans were not like any species they had encountered before. The moment the first ship entered Earth's atmosphere, they encountered resistance. It wasn't the sophisticated weaponry that came from human defenses. It was their ingenuity. The humans had spent decades preparing for this moment. They had reverse-engineered alien technology, learning from the remnants of fallen invaders, and using this knowledge to enhance their own weapons. The invaders, confident in their superiority, underestimated the humans, believing their force would easily overwhelm Earth's defenses. Finally, the technology worked. They were wrong. The humans fought back with a ferocity that the aliens could not have predicted. The sky was filled with human ships, many of which had been thought obsolete, yet they held their ground against the superior alien fleet. The humans didn't fight like any species the aliens had encountered. They didn't follow the rules of traditional warfare. Their tactics were unpredictable, chaotic. The human fleet launched attacks from every angle with no discernible strategy except one: survival. The invaders were caught off guard by this randomness, unable to form a counterattack that could deal with a human onslaught. The ground forces fared no better. Humanity's armies, though technologically inferior, were relentless. They used their knowledge of Earth's terrain to their advantage, luring alien forces into traps, launching surprise attacks from unexpected places. They were like cornered animals, fighting for their very existence. Each alien strike was met with an equally fierce retaliation. And slowly, the invaders began to realize the truth. The humans were not simply fighting for victory, they were fighting to survive, and that made them terrifying. The invaders attempted to escalate the conflict. They used their superior technology to strike cities, to decimate entire regions of Earth. But each time, the humans regrouped. They adapted. They learned. The destruction only fueled their determination. The more the invaders tried to break humanity, the more resilient humans became. The alien forces, though vastly superior in number and technology, were beginning to crack under the pressure. The humans did not surrender, they did not retreat, they did not give up. And that was when the real realization hit the invaders. The galaxy had never encountered a species like humanity. They were not just warriors, they were survivors. They did not rely on their technology or superior numbers to win. They relied on something far more dangerous: their sheer will to live. It was that will that made them unstoppable. The more the invaders attacked, the more they fought. The more they tried to break humanity, the stronger humanity became. In that moment, the galaxy's most advanced species realized why humanity was the most terrifying warrior species in existence. It wasn't their advanced weaponry or their strategic brilliance. It was something far simpler: their unbreakable will to survive. And in the end, that was the one thing no one, not even the most advanced species in the galaxy, could predict. The humans had won, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The war had begun, and the galaxy watched with a mix of fascination and dread. Earth, once thought to be a primitive backwater planet, was suddenly thrust into the center of an intergalactic conflict that would determine not only its fate, but the fate of countless civilizations. The alien coalition, which had amassed a fleet of warships from some of the most advanced species in the galaxy, believed the invasion would be swift and decisive. They had underestimated humanity. The attack on Earth came without warning. It was the sort of invasion that had been successful on countless other worlds: overwhelming force, superior technology, and the power to wipe out all resistance in an instant. The aliens, confident in their advanced weapons and technology, thought the humans would either surrender or be eradicated without much of a fight. They could not have been more wrong. The first wave of the alien fleet arrived just outside Earth's atmosphere, ships of various shapes and sizes, some sleek and streamlined, others enormous behemoths capable of obliterating entire cities with a single strike, hovered ominously above the planet. Earth had no defense against this kind of assault. The humans had been aware of the possibility of such an invasion, but they had never truly believed it would come to pass. They had prepared for years, but their preparations were hardly a match for the advanced weaponry and vast numbers of the alien forces, or so they thought. As the alien ships descended, the humans launched their own counteroffensive. A fleet of warships, their hulls patched together from salvaged alien technology, took off from Earth's surface. These ships, old and battered, had been re-engineered with the limited resources humanity had at its disposal. They were no match for the sleek, powerful ships of the invaders, but they weren't meant to win the war. They were meant to delay the inevitable, to buy time. What the humans lacked in firepower, they more than made up for with sheer determination. The first battle took place in the sky above the Pacific Ocean. The alien fleet fired upon Earth's surface with devastating lasers, disintegrating entire cities with each blast. But humanity fought back with a ferocity that surprised the invaders. The human ships, though outclassed in terms of technology, fought with a level of unpredictability that the aliens had never encountered before. Their tactics were erratic, chaotic. They did not fight with precision or strategy, but rather with the raw instinct to survive. They launched surprise attacks from unexpected angles, using the environment to their advantage in ways the aliens had not anticipated. The human fleet, though outnumbered and outgunned, managed to inflict damage on the alien ships. They fought like cornered animals, using every last ounce of their strength to strike back. The alien commanders, watching this unexpected resistance, were baffled. The humans were not acting in ways that made sense. They didn't retreat when they should have. They didn't follow the usual protocols of war. They were, in every way, unpredictable, and that made them incredibly dangerous. The first alien fleet had suffered significant losses, but the invading force was not deterred. They had far more ships, far more firepower, and they were confident that Earth's defenses would eventually collapse. Yet, even as their ships burned and their forces retreated, the humans did not relent. They did not bow. They did not surrender. The fighting spread across Earth's continents. Cities were decimated. Entire regions were turned to ash. But the human forces did not break. They regrouped, rebuilt, and fought back with an intensity that seemed almost unnatural. The alien forces, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies with superior firepower and technology, could not understand why the humans would not simply give up. They had destroyed everything, nearly every major city, every military base, but still the humans fought on. And the more the aliens pushed, the more they learned about the humans' greatest strength, their will to survive. Humanity's greatest weapon was not its technology or its military might. It was their ability to adapt, to survive. The alien invaders had made the critical mistake of underestimating humanity's capacity for resilience. Where other species might have folded in the face of such overwhelming odds, humanity dug in its heels. They learned, they adapted, they changed their tactics, finding new ways to strike back and fight for their survival. It was in this realization that the invaders made their first major mistake. The human soldiers, despite being outclassed in technology and numbers, fought as though they had nothing left to lose. They did not fight for glory, for conquest, or for domination. They fought because it was their only option. And that single-minded determination made them more dangerous than any weapon the aliens had at their disposal. In the cities that remained standing, pockets of resistance formed. Human militias, guerrilla groups, and military factions banded together, using every resource at their disposal to continue the fight. They used the alien technology they had managed to capture and reverse-engineered it, developing weapons that could match and in some cases exceed the capabilities of the invaders. It wasn't just Earth's military forces that fought back. Civilians, too, took up arms. What had once been an advanced, peaceful society was now a society of survivors. The war had torn apart the fabric of civilization, but in its place, something else had emerged, a new kind of strength. In every corner of the globe, humans fought in ways that no alien force had expected. They didn't surrender. They didn't retreat. They found ways to keep going, to keep resisting, to keep surviving. And in the process, they became something the aliens had never anticipated. The invaders had thought that their superior technology would be enough to break humanity. They had believed that their overwhelming force would crush the human spirit, that the humans would realize they were outmatched and give up. But what they hadn't counted on was humanity's ability to fight back, not just with weapons, but with their very willpower. Humanity did not fight like the alien species did. They did not fight with honor or strategy or tactics. They fought to survive, and that was something the invaders could not understand. In the days that followed the initial assault, the alien coalition regrouped. They were stunned by the resilience of the humans. What should have been a simple victory had turned into a drawn-out struggle. The humans were not backing down, and the more they fought, the more the alien forces realized that this was not just another species that could defeat with brute force. The more they engaged with humanity, the more they understood that this was a species that could not be broken. The second wave of the alien fleet arrived several days after the first. By now, the humans had adapted. They had repaired their ships, modified their weapons, and launched counterattacks that sent shockwaves through the alien ranks. The invasion had turned into something else entirely, a full-scale war. The alien forces were caught in a conflict they had never planned for, a war against an enemy that would not yield, would not bow, and would not submit. Humanity's tactics were unpredictable, and every battle seemed to bring a new surprise. The aliens had not anticipated the humans' willingness to fight even when all seemed lost. Despite the damage that had been inflicted upon Earth, despite the loss of life, humanity stood firm. As the alien fleets tried to regroup, the humans launched a series of counterattacks, exploiting every weakness they could find. Earth's remaining forces, though battered and broken, found new ways to strike back. They did not possess the technological superiority of their invaders, but they had something far more dangerous, a burning desire to survive. It was during one of these counterattacks that the invaders truly began to realize the gravity of the situation. The human fleet, though small and underpowered, launched an assault on one of the alien command ships, using a combination of tactics that had never been seen before. The human ships flew in erratic patterns, dodging at the heart of the alien ship with surprising precision. The alien fleet commander, watching this assault unfold, could no longer deny it. The humans were not just fighting to win, they were fighting for survival, and that made them terrifying. As the battle raged on, the alien forces started to crack. Despite their superior technology, they were losing. The humans were adapting too quickly, learning too fast, and their ability to fight back was proving to be a far greater threat than the alien invaders had ever imagined. The aliens had thought they could crush humanity with their advanced technology, but what they didn't understand was that humanity's true strength wasn't in their weapons. It was in their capacity for survival, and that was something no amount of technology or military might could ever overcome. The galaxy, once convinced that humanity would fall, watched in stunned silence as the humans turned the tide of the war. Against all odds, against overwhelming force, humanity had begun to win. The alien forces that had once been so sure of their superiority now found themselves on the defensive, retreating from a species they had underestimated. And as the war unfolded, it became clear humanity was not to be underestimated. The galaxy's most terrifying warrior species had just revealed its true power. The battle for Earth had reached a critical turning point. The alien coalition, which had launched the invasion with supreme confidence, now found themselves grappling with an enemy they had failed to understand. The humans, despite their technological inferiority, were proving to be a force of unimaginable resilience. What had begun as a well-planned assault on a backwater planet was quickly turning into a nightmare for the invaders. Humanity's strategy was simple but effective: survive. They were fighting with a ferocity that no other species in the galaxy had ever displayed. The invaders had underestimated the power of this will to survive, and now they were paying the price. The third wave of the alien fleet arrived just as the second wave had been pushed back. This time, however, the invaders were not prepared for the depth of the humans' resistance. They had assumed that after the first waves of devastation, humanity would have faltered. They had calculated that the losses of life, the destruction of cities, the obliteration of vital infrastructure would have broken the human spirit. They could not have been more wrong. Instead of surrendering, the human race adapted, evolved in response to the overwhelming odds stacked against them. They found new ways to fight back, new technologies and strategies that kept the invaders on edge. The invaders, who had come to Earth with the intent to conquer, were now trapped in a brutal struggle they had never expected. In the days leading up to the third wave, humanity's forces had regrouped. The world was still in chaos. Cities lay in ruin, entire regions of the planet had been scorched. But the human spirit was not broken. The survivors had formed a global resistance, pooling their resources to create weapons and technology that allowed them to strike back at the invaders. They scavenged through the wreckage of alien ships, reverse engineering their technology and using it against the invaders. There were no formal armies anymore, only small groups of soldiers, civilians, and survivors who had one common goal: to survive and push the invaders back. The alien command, once so sure of their superiority, now found themselves fighting an enemy they could not predict. Humanity's resilience had become a force in itself. The invaders had hoped that their technological might would intimidate the humans, that their weapons would overpower any attempts at resistance. But what they had not realized was that humanity did not fight for victory alone. The human drive to live, to keep pushing forward no matter the cost, was a force that could not be reckoned with. As the third wave of the alien fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, the humans had prepared a plan unlike anything the invaders had anticipated. The human forces had developed a new weapon, a prototype ship that was capable of harnessing the raw power of the Earth's magnetic fields. They had designed it to be a direct counter to the alien ship's technological superiority. This new ship, a hybrid of alien technology and human ingenuity, would be humanity's most potent weapon in the war. The invaders had thought that humanity's attempts to reverse engineer their technology would be futile, but they had underestimated human determination. The humans were now fighting with a weapon of their own making, something born from the wreckage of the alien fleets and the remains of their own ingenuity. The ship, named the Defiant, was launched into space just as the alien fleet began its descent to Earth's surface. The invaders saw it as nothing more than a desperate measure, another outdated human weapon with no hope of success. But when the Defiant powered up its magnetic pulse generator, it sent a shockwave through the alien fleet. The pulse disrupted their communication systems, their weapons, and their ability to coordinate. For the first time in the war, the invaders found themselves in disarray. The humans had created something that had rendered their technology useless. The alien fleet faltered as their ships lost power and control. It was a crucial moment, one that turned the tide of the battle. The humans didn't hesitate. They struck quickly, using their advantage to launch a devastating counterattack. The Defiant became the centerpiece of a series of coordinated strikes that shattered the invaders' fleet. The human forces, now more organized and better equipped than before, attacked with a precision that had once seemed impossible. The invaders, who had believed their technology would guarantee them victory, were now on the defensive. The humans were relentless. Every alien ship that fell to their attacks fueled their resolve, and the invaders began to realize that they had miscalculated in ways they hadn't thought possible. The galaxy's most advanced species had underestimated humanity in the most profound way. They had believed that their technological superiority would crush the humans, but instead, they had given the humans the very thing they needed to fight back: the opportunity to learn and adapt, and humanity had done just that. As the battle raged on, the alien forces realized that the war was no longer about technology, it was about survival. The humans had made it clear that they would fight until the very last breath, until the last ounce of strength had been expended. And the more the aliens pressed, the more the humans adapted. They had become an enemy unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. A species that could not be broken, a species that would never surrender. The invaders began to retreat, their forces scattered, their command structure in disarray. They had never faced an opponent like humanity before. As they fled back into the depths of space, the humans looked up at the skies and saw the remnants of the once mighty fleet that had come to destroy them. The battle for Earth had been won, but the war was far from over. The aliens may have retreated for now, but humanity knew that the galaxy had not forgotten them. They had proven something far more important than mere victory. They had shown the galaxy the true strength of humanity. In the days that followed the retreat of the alien fleet, Earth began to rebuild. The scars of the war were visible everywhere. Cities lay in ruin, vast stretches of land had been turned to ash, and millions had lost their lives. But amid the destruction, a new hope began to emerge. Humanity had proven to itself that it could survive anything, that no matter how overwhelming the odds, no matter how dire the situation, they would fight and they would never give up. The alien invasion had been a catalyst for something else, a fundamental shift in the way humans saw themselves. They were no longer a species on the edge of extinction, at the mercy of forces beyond their control. They had faced the greatest threat the galaxy could muster, and they had emerged victorious. Humanity had proven that they were not just a species to be tolerated or ignored, but one to be reckoned with. The Galactic Council, which had watched the invasion unfold from the safety of their distant worlds, had learned a valuable lesson. The humans had shown them the true meaning of resilience, of adaptability, and of survival. The very qualities that had made humanity so terrifying to the alien invaders were now the things that would define them in the galaxy. The Council, which had once feared humanity's potential for destruction, now realized that humanity's strength lay not in its ability to wage war, but in its unyielding determination to survive, and that was something no other species could match. As the years passed and the memory of the invasion began to fade, humanity's reputation spread across the galaxy. Other species watched in awe as humans began to explore the stars, establishing colonies on distant planets, forging alliances, and carving out a place for themselves in the broader galactic community. The once primitive species that had been considered a curiosity had become a force to be reckoned with, one that could no longer be ignored or underestimated. The day the aliens had realized why humans were the galaxy's most terrifying warrior species marked the beginning of a new era. The galaxy had learned that humanity, more than any other species, had mastered the art of survival. And in a galaxy full of wonders, dangers, and unknowns, survival was the greatest weapon of all.